Hello, friends. Welcome back to another weekly episode of Tarot Plus Transits. This is for the week of May 17th through May 23rd, 2020. And this week is definitely not as busy as it was last week in regards to the celestial changes that are taking place. But we do still have some stuff going on. For one, Gemini season starts this week. So happy birthday to all the Geminis out there. And on top of Gemini season starting, we also have a new moon in Gemini. And, we'll get to that later on in the reading. But for starters, I wanted to just change the format of this a little bit. Because last week's went on a really long time. I think I'll just go through the transits and pull one card for each of the different configurations we have coming up and see if this format works a little bit better. Hello. I need to cut in here. It's me from the future coming to you from my editing desk. So if you don't know, I am visually impaired, and while I was editing, I noticed that this entire time the world was just sitting on the table, and I did not notice that while I was actually doing the reading. But I don't think that anything with tarot happens by accident, so I feel inclined to, go back and address this card that is just staring at us throughout the entire reading that I didn't notice until just now. But yes, I think in the context of this reading, the world is telling us that we really are in this together. Like, I think I mentioned it in a super cheesy way at some point in the video, but, this pandemic is hard for all of us. Like, we couldn't have expected this, and all these struggles we're going through, they're new struggles that no one could have even envisioned us going through. So if you are feeling down this week, if things just get a little bit too difficult for you, just remember that you are not alone, and be willing to reach out to people if you need help. Anyways, let's get started with the actual reading. So to start off today, what happened today? Today we had the sun trining Jupiter at 27 degrees in Taurus and Capricorn. And, this is such a grounding energy, especially if you have any planets that are aligning with this trine aspect that's happening. Like, I might be a little bit partial towards Taurus because I am a Taurus sun, but the sun in Taurus is very grounded and connected. And when you have that in combination with Jupiter in Capricorn, yes, Jupiter is retrograde, but it's still Jupiter. And so we're more able to have a little bit more hope about stuff and be realistic about our current situation, because this pandemic has not been easy on anyone, and it's important to be realistic about stuff, but also it's important not to lose hope when situations get a little tough. And the card I pulled for this is the bumping my camera, is the Two of Pentacles. So yeah, the Two of Pentacles in reverse. And so sometimes I usually go off my intuition with reversal. Sometimes it's a lack of that energy, and other times I read reversed cards as I do a retrograde planet, and seeing that this is about Jupiter being retrograde. The Two of Pentacles in reverse is kind of weighing things internally, what emotions are you going to allow to come to the surface? Are you going to just lose hope and be dreading everything about the future, or are you going to take stock of your situation and start being strategic about things and figuring out different ways that you can start to improve your situation? Because especially in Capricorn, Capricorn is very methodical with what they do. They do things with purpose and for a reason. So that is what this trine is trying to tell us. Like, let's make a game plan, you know? It's time to make a game plan. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in my hallway too. I'm not sure if you could hear those people yelling. I certainly did. But yeah, moving on to the next aspect. After this lovely trine on Sunday, we don't really have a lot of movement going on besides, like, you know, the moon doing its dance. You can follow me on Twitter to find out, you know, what's going on daily with the moon stuff. But just in terms of the bigger planets at play, nothing really significant happens until Wednesday. And a lot happens on Wednesday. Wednesday is the busiest day of this week. Wednesday is when Gemini season starts. And I think that's lovely because Wednesday is the day of Mercury, and then the sun is moving into the sign of Mercury, so there's just all this good Mercury energy that we can just soak up. And like, staying on that theme of, you know, making a plan, Gemini energy is great for planning because there's lots of details that go into that, and you're able to kind of just compile the different information that's needed in order to make an effective strategy, you know? So yeah, when the sun enters Gemini, that is on Wednesday. What else happens on Wednesday? Well, actually, before I keep moving on, let's pull a card for the sun in Gemini. For the sun in Gemini. Ooh, I need to figure out how to do this without bumping my camera every time. For the sun in Gemini, we got the Tower in reverse. Okay? And so I think this is probably just a reflection of Venus being in Gemini and Venus being retrograde. This reversed card here. The Tower is about things just crumbling, you know? And so in a reversed card, like, that energy is present, but it's not as potent as it could be. So maybe lots of us are feeling broken and at rock bottom. And maybe the Jupiter trine sun aspect in Taurus, maybe reality hit us a little bit too hard and we're really down in the dumps about it. But it's not to be that person that tells you it could be worse, but like, this is not a situation that you are not strong enough to move on from. Like, we've got this, you know? We're all in this together, like the hashtag likes to say. But yeah, like, Gemini season is not going to be an easy season for people. We have, you know, we're moving into Gemini, which is this very social sign, and at the same time that that's happening, we're also like all stuck in our homes and desiring to socialize and communicate with people. And, you know, when the sun is in Gemini, we feel that energy even more. So the loneliness might really start to show during Gemini season this year, especially if we're restricted from going out. And let's see what else happens on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we also have Venus squaring Neptune at 20 degrees of, you know, Gemini and Pisces. And whenever a square to Neptune is involved, we're not always seeing things the most clear. Like, we kind of have like the rose tinted glasses, and sometimes always looking on the bright side is a good thing, and sometimes if we're only looking at the good, we miss out on, you know, serious red flags or serious clues of like certain things that are going on. And this could even be an aspect of being delusional about what you want. So on Wednesday, we're feeling this need to connect with people socially. And we're also not really thinking entirely clearly because we have this square to Neptune. And interesting, we have, I'm not going to bump the camera, we have the Two of Swords for this aspect. So again, this is just reiterating that we're not seeing things entirely clearly. Like the wool is over our eyes in some capacity. And we need to just be aware that just because we want something really, really bad doesn't mean it's what's best for us. There is like something that Barack Obama just said at like a commencement speech, like acting off of what you want is something that a child does. I'm paraphrasing here, but like just operating from a place of I want this, and I want it now, because Gemini, you know, when Gemini wants something, it's very much in the moment, and if it doesn't happen now, then it's kind of a fleeting thought. So you kind of just want it now. You don't really want to wait or be patient with stuff. So just be mindful of the things you want this week, especially come Wednesday and the following days, because this isn't like a usual Venus square Neptune aspect. Venus stays on a degree, typically, usually around 1 day, and then it moves on. But because Venus recently stationed and is now slowly moving retrograde, she's still moving really slow. So we will have this aspect for the remainder of the week. So just be mindful of the different things that you're investing in, whether it's emotional investment or literal investment, because, you know, Venus is also about money and what we value. So if you decide to buy something during these days, what you get when it gets delivered might not be exactly what you thought you ordered. So yeah, like I mentioned, that aspect lasts a couple days, and we don't really have much going on Thursday. No new aspects being formed on Thursday. It's kind of just a continuation of that Thursday energy, where, again, I will say, just be careful, be mindful of what you're doing. Be careful what you wish for too, because with Neptune, it's very easy to like manifest things, especially because on Friday we have the Sun trine Saturn, right? The Sun recently entered Gemini, and it's forming a trine with Saturn in Aquarius. And Saturn is reality, and Aquarius is kind of like, you know, the biggest dreams that you have, like what you hope and wish for, not just for yourself, but for society. And so when you have these different things coming into play, where you have this Neptune energy here and you have the Saturn energy here, you may be able to manifest the things that you want. But manifesting doesn't happen just by thinking about the good things you want. You know, if you're manifesting stuff, you're manifesting everything. So if you're constantly thinking about these negative things, you're going to manifest those negative things as well. So, especially being in air, this is a lot about your thought processes. So let's try to think happy thoughts, man. And it might be easy to think happy thoughts. But at the same time, like, don't be delusional in your happiness. Try to stay grounded. It might be a little bit more difficult to feel grounded the second half of the week as it is in the first half. So let's pull a card about this trine here to get some more information on that. So the card I got for this trine is the Five of Wands in reverse. And so this is about, competition, arguments to some extent, but it's kind of more just like, it's more of a friendly competition than you know, a serious duel to the death, you know? So it is a somewhat lighthearted energy. You don't want to like be overly serious about whatever conflict is arising at this time, because, you know, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be the end all be all type of conflict. So, you know, just be careful about what it is that you're thinking about. You know, I'm thinking of like those movies where a kid impulsively wishes that he had no parents because he's mad at them. And then he realizes that life without his parents kind of suck, you know? You could be doing something in the moment that you think is what is the most beneficial for your situation, only to find out that, you know, it's might not be the best way to go about things. And while this is happening, we also have the new moon at, I wrote down 1 degree Gemini, but I believe it's at 2 degrees Gemini. Yeah, so we have this new moon, which is like also in this trine with Saturn and Aquarius. So, you know, new moons are about setting intentions. And so remember what I said about manifesting stuff? We need to stay mindful this week of what it is we're intending, you know. If our intentions are pure, or if they're a little bit misguided because we're feeling a certain way in a certain moment about someone. Let's see. Mercury square Neptune. Okay, this is the last aspect. I kind of skipped over it. So yeah, Mercury. Oh, I skipped over 2 things actually. Mercury actually conjoins Jupiter. So we have a Jupiter, not Jupiter, silly me, Venus. Mercury conjoins Venus. And so that is happening at 20 degrees, which means it's also square Neptune at the same time. And so when Mercury is coming into this configuration here, it's just kind of connecting all of this, right? The new moon is happening in Gemini, which means it's ruled by Mercury. And so, whereas this moon-Saturn stuff, sun-moon-Saturn stuff, isn't really directly connected with this Neptune stuff, Mercury squaring Neptune and conjoining, keep saying Jupiter, and conjoining Venus, that connects all that energy together. And so we have this very powerful configuration of manifesting your thoughts and thinking things that might not be true. You might be told some information. It might not be like intentional lying. There might just be misinformation going around. You're not going to know the whole story. Because there's just so much fog going on. So let's pull a card for that whole configuration. Let's pull a card for this Mercury conjunct Venus square Neptune. What do we get for this one? Interesting. We have the Queen of Pentacles, not bumping the camera, the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. And so usually the Queen has so much control of what's going on around her, you know, especially in Pentacles. She's very grounded. She's very in the loop about what's going on around her, but she's reversed, okay? So this energy, it was here. This is the energy that we're starting out the week with, but it's fleeting. We're not going to be able to stay as grounded as we were at the start of the week because we have, you know, all this stuff moving into air signs. And, you know, when you lose, you know, I'm thinking of, well, maybe it's not the best metaphor, but like, I am not a strong swimmer. So I remember the first time I went swimming in a sea, it was in the Mediterranean Sea. And I was staying relatively close to shore because, that's where I felt the most comfortable. And so I was slowly inching my way out into the water, and then suddenly the ground beneath my feet just stopped and I couldn't feel the sand anymore, and I freaked out a little bit. Everything's fine now, but at the time there was this brief moment of not knowing what to do because that connection with the ground was lost. And so, you know what? Neptune is water. It's a perfect metaphor. Since our connection with, that with earth energy is suddenly changing, we have to think quick. And, when we're forced to think quickly, we don't always make the rational decision. Even more so because of Neptune, because we're just operating off a place of not knowing the full picture. Anyways, the last card I got to sum this up is another queen. We got the Queen of Wands in reverse. And so, again, another queen. The Queen of Wands is about, she also has lots of control of what's going on, more in a social way where she can hold herself in any situation and she has control over her actions. She knows what she's doing. She knows the next steps to take. There's nothing that can get in her way, but she's reversed here. So we shouldn't be steadfast with our actions. We should try to take a step, take a breather, and, just take our time with things. Gemini energy likes to move really, really fast, and there's so much energy in Gemini right now. But, the first thing that the sun does when it enters Gemini, it makes a connection with Saturn, and Saturn wants us to slow down and be practical. So that's the energy that's going on this week. Let's not get too lost in the clouds. Let's not make some rash wishes that will come true that we later regret. Let's just breathe and know that we don't know the whole situation right now. So maybe just take a couple steps back and allow the information to come. And once we have all the information, then we'll be able to make a more informed decision about what it is we should actually be doing. So yes, that is the end of this week's installment of Tarot plus Transits. Or was it Transits plus Tarot? I don't remember what I titled this series. Either way, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week with another weekly reading, and I'll see you sooner than next week if you stay tuned for other videos on my channel. So yes, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.